Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
As we began the news, we're talking about how the narrative of the conspiracies that the CIA and the rest of our secret government has concocted here are starting to unravel. We also see globalism perhaps beginning to unravel, and that may be through the BREXIT vote, the vote to see whether or not Britain will exit the EU. NBC says this, the BREXIT vote, why Britain could quit the EU and why America cares. And they talk about a few things here and say, well, what is at stake? And they answer, well, the global order is at stake. And that, folks, is the key. This is about the globalism, about the consolidation. As we pointed out many times, the structure that was set up by Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Trilateral Commission and the Rockefellers who created the Trilateral Commission, they want to create these regional blocks that they can then consolidate into a global government. And the regional blocks are first economic consolidation. Then they become political consolidation. And what we see right now with the open borders is an attempt to erase completely the borders and the cultures and the sovereignty of these individual nations. As Europe sees this, there are rising political movements that are pushing back against it. The same thing is happening in America. And the question is, how will this turn out? We will get some idea as we look at their election coming up with the Brexit election, as well as what happens with the American election. They point out that if Britain leaves, it will be abandonment of the EU by one of its most important members. And some predict a domino effect as other EU members consider their own departures, while other members fear that an EU without Britain would be economically dominated by Germany, which is perhaps why Sweden has said, if Britain leaves, we're going to have a vote on leaving as well. I think there's a lot of countries that do not want to be totally dominated by Britain, but that is already happening to a large degree. Now, they say, why does it matter for the United States? Well, this is NBC's answer. They say the United States advocates a strong and stable union. Well, it isn't just that, folks. It is the trilateral consolidation that we're talking about here. And it's also the transatlantic and trans-Pacific partnerships that make that consolidation happen first economically. Why is this happening now? They say, why are they pushing back? Well, of course, it's an uptick in immigration, says NBC. No, it's a massive destruction of, by design, our cultures and our borders. They say the trading bloc is arguably the world's first attempt at creating a superstate in the modern world. They say a series of treaties have given courts and politicians in Brussels the power to change national laws to bring them in line with European standards. Yeah, of course, that's the whole problem. You know, we had when Boris Johnson, the mayor of London, who is advocating that Britain exit, when he was going back and forth with Obama, everybody seized on what he had to say about the Churchill bust to try to make Boris Johnson look like a racist. But as I reported last week, he made it very clear that they don't have a relationship with the United States right now where they can do a trade agreement. They have to worry about whether the French are on board, and they've got their own ancillary issues with cheeses, for example, okay? So it's a very complicated thing. These things are being decided not by Britain and the United States, but they're being decided by Brussels. And so Britain already is at the back of the queue. And then they go on and say, well, how could it affect the U.S. election? It actually reflects the U.S. election. That is what's going on with Donald Trump. Do they think this is really going to happen? Of course they do. This is Financial Times saying the Bank of England is busy preparing for the Brexit vote. It's very close right now. They're essentially tied statistically, and we're probably, I guess it's about, I think it's the end of June 23rd. So we're about 7 weeks out. A lot of things can happen at this point. We've had a lot of people coming in talking about why they should stay, why they should leave. The Leave campaign has just come back with its own economists. First of all, they didn't hear anything that said, that offered a positive case except for the people who were offering a fear case. Now, the people who are saying we need to leave have put up their own economists. We have an article on Infowars, how Brexit could help all of Europe, saying that this will actually bring in more competition between government. Look, here's the bottom line. Whenever you have government that is closer to the people, it serves the people. The farther removed government becomes, the more consolidated government becomes, the more people become slaves. And the issue before us now, the key issue in our election and the British election, is are we going to have nations, or are we going to have a new world order, a globalist order? So it's globalism versus the nation state. That's why all eyes are on Britain and all eyes are on the American election. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As the Republican primary season winds down, there is one true frontrunner. Like it or not, Donald Trump has a commanding lead, but he's still being followed, although distantly, by Ted Cruz and John Kasich. Join us Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central, for live coverage of the Indiana primary results. Will this be the death nail in Ted Cruz's political coffin? Or will he continue to wander around the country like a dead zombie in search of more delegates? That's right, live coverage and analysis, and we'll take your phone calls. 7 o'clock p.m. Central this Tuesday, Infowars.com/show, and join us on our YouTube stream at The Alex Jones Channel. Infowars live coverage of the Indiana primary. Don't miss it.
What are you doing to fight these people? Get out there, take action.